Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of the Integrity Racing Show. I'm your host, Todd Thomas, joined tonight by Jacob Fyfe, League Administrator and owner. And also we have Adam DeBlasio here with us, who's our special guest and the unofficial official Integrity Racing League statistician. So Adam, let's introduce you to the guests that are watching tonight. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came involved with the Integrity Racing League.
Well, I actually, first off, I got an iRacing in December of 2014. It was a Christmas gift from my parents. And then I did about a year and a half of just official racing. And then I was watching Pajari's YouTube stream, and I actually saw that you guys were having a lot of fun in that league, lots of green flag racing, and I said, let's join it. And I actually did the Bristol night race last year and the Chicagoland race.
All right, and so you've kind of taken on a role over the past few weeks. You've done a lot to help the league. You update the Rookie of the League points, even though you're leading that league. So somebody might want to check up on that and make sure he's not cheating for himself. You do the chase standings every week. You release those. You seem to put a lot of time into that. So do you really enjoy working with stats and numbers? How did you come about doing all that stuff?
Yeah, I just graduated Syracuse University, and I double majored in CPA accounting and finance with a math minor. Nothing too big, but I enjoyed keeping the books, quote unquote, so I really enjoyed doing that kind of stuff. So I went up to Jacob, and I didn't feel at the time I was involved in the league enough. I like being involved in whatever I do, so I asked him. He said, sure, it's less work for me to do.
All right, and the final thing we're going to do for this little interview here is we're going to ask you to say your favorite cuss word over the radio here.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right.
All right.
Good luck with that.
For those of you that don't know, Adam's is a great kid, good person, never cussed a day in his life. So so we always tease him about that a little bit. But let's move on to something a little bit more serious and talk about the race that was this past week at Indianapolis. Brendan Kohler gets the victory and didn't cheat. Not cheat. He didn't cheat. He didn't steal it. Brendan Kohler was just fast as hell and got a victory at Indianapolis. So congratulations to Brendan and potentially locking himself into the chase. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Andrew Fayesh, Nick Ward, Jacob Fyfe, and Carlos Fonseca up there for rounding out the top five. So Jacob, run us through your race a little bit and what you saw up there towards the front.
Yeah, a lot of good racing for sure. I know we had some great battles up at the front towards the end, and really interesting strategy plays throughout the middle portion of the race. Good win definitely for Brendan. That puts him in chase contention, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And I know I had a good battle with Andrew there in the closing laps for second, and my inability to get into turn 3 on a consistent basis is what cost me that position, and kind of fell back a couple spots, but still another great run. I've knocked off a few top 5s over the past few weeks and have kind of got my groove, and I still have a couple races coming up, like Pocono this week. I was doing well there last time, and I think Watkins Glen is after that, and I finished second at the other road course. So hopefully, we'll keep the momentum rolling. And like I said, as far as me personally went, I had a very good run, and then the league as a whole is also keeping on the trend of minimal cautions, good racing, the kind of thing that we're really wanting to see in each race from our members. So we're keeping the momentum going, and definitely looking forward to the next few races here.
Absolutely. I really want to hit on the lack of cautions we had. Only 5 cautions in Indianapolis, a place that's notoriously tough to pass on. So you saw a lot of, I was somebody that had to come back and forth through the pack on a couple of different occasions. And definitely saw some good give and take and some people that were willing to lift the throttle a little bit going into corners, but you just have to do it in Indianapolis because running side by side there is so tough. So good to see that happening. Hopefully it can keep up this week at Pocono. A couple of people will have to miss that race, and we'll get into that in just a second. Rounding out your top 10 as we put the rest of the results on the board there for everybody. Rounding out your top 10, Michael Dole gets a sixth-place finish, contention for the win, involved in a little bit of a late race incident that moved Dole back to sixth place. I know he was disappointed. Tyler Herr finishes seventh, William Dunn in eighth, Brendan Kirkman ninth, and James Hudson rounds out your top 10. You see you down there in 14th. Adam, talk us through your race at Indianapolis and how the race went for you on Monday night.
Well, I didn't know whether to qualify or not, but having a little connection issue kind of dictated that for me. I ended up not qualifying. I ended up starting in the back, and I slowly worked my way up to the top 15, and then my highlight of the race was lap 29 when I was passing Cody Smith going into one, and Trevor Dalton decided to give me a little love tap entering the turn. Cody and I kind of got both sideways, and we both saved it. That was definitely exciting. But if I remember right, Dale Jr. and Casey Kane did something similar at that track. I think it was last year. But that didn't really set me that far back. I fell about to 21st, but battled back, got a good top 15. Indy's not one of my favorite tracks.
All right, so that kind of wraps up Indianapolis. Again, congrats to Brendan Kohler. And one of the ways we're going to say congrats to Brendan Kohler is as you look at the chase standings, Brendan Kohler's in goal. If the chase was to start today, Brendan Kohler would be in it as long as he makes the minimum race requirement. So this is something that Adam puts together and puts on the Facebook page each and every week. A couple things to note here is that the minimum chase requirement is really peaking up. Jacob, tell us about that and how it might impact people making the chase a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as you look to the standings there, while Todd had it up, you have a couple guys who are really close as far as the aforementioned Kohler, who needs to make 6 out of the next 7 races that are left in the regular season in order to make the chase. And then Matt Busa needs to make all of them in order to make the chase. And I think he's already stated he's going to miss a few weeks. He's hopping over the pond, as they say. So we'll leave him on there until he's mathematically out. But that's basically going to have one spot open up, it looks like, for one of the guys at the cutoff line, and it's going to kind of churn the water, so to speak, and mix things up. And those who are right around, say, 18th to 24th are really still in the hunt to get into the chase and see what they can do here towards as we approach Richmond.
Absolutely. So as you look at this chase standings, if you look at things and you say, all right, well, Boose is most likely, he's already said it's probably not going to take part in the chase. Colton Landis is currently locked in, but the feeling is that he will not be taking part. And then Brendan Kohler does have to make all but one of the coming up races, the next 7 races, to make the chase. So that could drop that gold line all the way down to Jay Heisman and really open the door for Michael Dole or Brad Wren or somebody around that position to maybe sneak their way in at the last minute. And that's if nobody steals a victory. Brendan Terry is somebody that's not really up there in the point standings, but got a victory at Kansas and locked himself in. So a lot of movement can still take part. Adam, you're somebody sitting 13th in points right now without a victory, but you look like you're pretty securely into the chase. Do you like the position you're in and think you're going to be able to take part in the Integrity Racing League chase in your first season?
Yeah, I believe I got a good shot. I know Jacob a couple of weeks ago during the show said he wasn't really that comfortable with that type of a lead, but I feel like I'm consistent enough that I can stay up there locked in as a rookie, and that I'm consistent. I see myself kind of as like Chase Elliott. He's in the chase right now as a rookie, and he's going to probably point his way in. I'm going to point my way in, but I think consistency will be the key for me these upcoming weeks.
All right, and we're about to pitch it to Jacob so that Jacob can update us on any league updates. But really quickly, I do want to hit on the overall standings. The overall standings don't really have too much effect on too many things, except for that it does affect the locked-in status of drivers. And with Allen Roll cracking into the top 20 and a little bit of some things going on. It looks like Chris Schitzler's moved into 21st, so Chris Schitzler's gained a locked-in position coming up for this week at Pocono. So Jacob, as the league administrator, we do have a couple of weeks coming up. And really quickly, let me actually update the caution count for everybody so that everybody can see it. Jacob's going to talk about this in more detail and how it impacts some people. But here in the red are some key numbers, unfortunately one next to my name, that we'll go ahead and let Jacob talk about.
Yeah, overall we basically had like I said, had a decent race at Indianapolis, so there wasn't any major issues to really speak of, but the caution count did come into play as Todd so eloquently tried to dance around himself until the last minute. But Todd is suspended for next week's race. He has 3 cautions, which that means during the regular season you get suspended for 1 race, as well as Drew Carroll hit the 3 caution mark during the regular season, so that means he's suspended for next week's race at Pocono. From there, if you get 6 cautions within the regular season, which that's through Richmond, then it's a 2-race suspension, and it adds up until we wrap up with Richmond. But like I said, all in all, the racing has been better overall, so there's been less need to do adminning things or anything of that nature to really hit home or make people mad with or anything like that. So, which is a good thing. Less adminning for me. I'm a happy camper. So, like I said, just those 2 suspensions for the caution count, but otherwise we're doing well and looking forward to Pocono.
All right, and just for anybody that maybe didn't watch the show last week but is watching the show this week, the caution count does reset after the race at Richmond. But how does that impact chase drivers as far as if they gain a caution leading up to the chase and how that would work? When is the last race basically a suspension could be served in that capacity?
Well, it's basically through Richmond. So if you have a caution during Richmond, and that caution puts you over the limit, so to speak. So say if you get, if I'm hopefully in the chase, I get a 3rd caution at Richmond, and then I'm out for Chicago. I'm out for the first race of the chase because that needs to be implemented for the next race. Now, when we get to Chicago, everything resets. Everything's back at 0, and we just reset. So so people have to be careful at Richmond. We don't want any itchy elbows or anything like that. So hopefully, obviously, that won't be the case. It'll be intense. People are trying to get into the chase, and I think everybody understands that. But by the same token, we don't need it to be a free-for-all either. And I think this is a decent way to be able to keep that in check and not give drivers the impression that, oh, well, everything will reset because the chase is next week. I don't have to, worry about cautions or anything like that, and it still kind of holds people to a certain level, and that's, I think, what we're trying to accomplish there.
Absolutely, I think that Richmond race will be exciting as a lot of drivers are trying to get into the chase, and that last race is really the last chance to maybe try to get a victory and get themselves in. So Richmond should be exciting to watch, and hopefully I'll be able to take part. Looking at the rookie standings, Adam DeBlasio, have you been able to look at the rookie standings and see who leads the rookie standings? Because it might be a familiar name to you.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. It's not like I do that every week.
All right, well, as we look at the standings here, Adam DeBlasio, you've got a commanding lead over 40 points over Brad Wren, 42 points back to Ty McWhorter, Brendan Burkhoff 47 points back, Drew Carroll 58 points back on the top 5. So a pretty wide gap between you and the second place competitor for that trophy. Is that something that you really geared for at the start of the season?
Yeah, that was actually my main goal right there, was to get Rookie of the Year, because to be honest, all throughout my life growing up, I never really won anything, and just to get a trophy for myself would just be awesome. So that's the one award that I'm definitely going for. However, it does say I do have a 40-point lead, but by no means am I comfortable with that, because the best 17 out of 36 races count, and theoretically, since there's 17 races left, someone who's not even in the league could theoretically come in and take it from me right now.
All right, so we'll keep updating everyone on the Rookie of the Year as potentially that starts to change over the next few weeks based off the drop weeks getting into it. We'll update everyone as well on the Elton Golf and Batting Team Challenge. Lockdown Racing keeps their commanding lead over that, about 4 points back to the field. You see Integrity Racing Team, who actually doesn't have a win this year, Jacob. You might have to explain that one in just a second. Is 4.25 points back. 2 to Green loses a little bit of space at Indianapolis and drops to 5.5 points back. So Jacob, the Integrity Racing Team hasn't gotten a win yet this season, but you've been pretty consistent.
Yeah, we're definitely a consistent bunch. I'll give us that. I mean, basically, if you look at the results from Indianapolis, for example, 4 of our 5 drivers finished in the top 10. I was 4th, and then William, Brandon, and James were 8th, 9th, and 10th. So we're really consistent. I mean, we've knocked on the door of some wins here. I've had a second or two. William was running great at Indianapolis, and I thought really had a chance to win that race until some really unfortunate luck went his way when just as we were getting ready to pit, he had just, or actually he wasn't even there, the caution came out, and he went through the commitment cone there, just didn't have it, couldn't go anywhere. And so that set him back. Otherwise, I mean, he was really fast there, so I kind of felt bad for him as far as that goes. But like I said, we're extremely consistent. I think we're getting into a groove as a team, and because we talk about the races, we see what strategies and try to help each other out to help one another improve. And we have a decently talented group. I mean, pretty much from top to bottom. Even though we have rookies and veterans and all that stuff mixed in there, we, as you can see with the consistency, everybody has the ability to run well, especially if we all hit our strong tracks at the same time. So, got a great group, and hopefully we'll keep chipping away at Lockdown Racing there. But they're obviously a tough group, as you can see with the amount of wins they've stacked up over the course of the year.
All right, and one thing I noticed while Jacob was talking about the Integrity Racing Team was that 24 flag sent behind the head of Adam DeBlasio there in his bedroom. Adam, I know you're a big Jeff Gordon fan, and Jeff Gordon coming back out of retirement to run 2 races and picking up Dale Jr. due to his concussion this coming Sunday at Indianapolis, and then next week at Pocono. Tell us how excited you are about that happening.
Well, first of all, that's a poster, Todd, not a whatever you called it earlier. But anyway, I have mixed emotions because I am totally ecstatic that Jeff Gordon's coming back and driving in Indy and Pocono. Too bad it wasn't one more race because I'm going to Watkins Glen this year, and it would be awesome to see him race in person at Watkins Glen. But the mixed emotions come from the fact that Dale Jr. is injured, and you hate to see someone get out of their car like that, and just a situation that allowed Jeff Gordon to get in the 88 car is kind of disappointing, but it's a 4-time champion, 93 wins and 797 starts. Can't ask for a better driver than that. The one thing I wish would happen, which probably won't happen, would be asking Chase Elliott to give that 24 number to Jeff, because he's had 797 starts in that 24 car, and that really messes up that hashtag 24ever hashtag going around. So I would love to see Jeff Gordon in the 24 and not in the 88.
Yeah, I think there was a joke going around Twitter today is, how much is it's going to be tough for Jeff Gordon to not just want to climb right into that 24 car just out of habit this coming weekend. So I think I'm pretty excited about it just to see it. I mean, it's good for the sport. There was a report earlier this week that Indianapolis had only sold 33,000 tickets to the race this coming weekend, and hopefully having the hometown boy coming out of retirement to drive at Indianapolis helps the sport, gives it some ratings, and some extra dollars is never a bad thing for the sport. So hopefully that works out well, and Jeff has a good run. And obviously everybody wants Dale Jr. to get as healthy as possible and come back, but his health comes first. He's about to get married. You got to think he's probably going to want kids at some point in his life, and having to risk a concussion isn't something that he wants to do. So moving forward, we're going back to Pocono. It seems like we were just there, right? And we pretty much were. If we look here at Pocono, we went to Pocono on May 30th, so just over 6 weeks ago. We went to Pocono, and Matt Busa was absolutely dominant. I think he out-qualified the field, if I can remember, by about 4/10, and dominated the race, leading 68 of the 80 laps. We had 8 cautions for 31 laps, one involving our league administrator, Jacob Fyfe, who finished 38th in the race. Todd Thomas, I was able to get a third-place finish right behind Brendan Kohler, who finished second. Trey Browning fourth. Tyler Herr fifth. So Jacob, a chance to redeem yourself. You were fast at Pocono, especially at the hot lap, but even during the race, you were somebody that was fast, but maybe didn't get the result to show for it. What do you hope to accomplish this coming Monday night?
Yeah, definitely was really good at Pocono the first time around. So I'm looking forward to going back and competing for a chance to win again. I think that was a real shot there when we were there in the spring. So definitely looking forward to it. I haven't had a chance to do any laps there yet, but I would imagine since everything will pretty much be the same, since we're basically within the same build, I think maybe that everything should just fall into place and kind of pick up where we left off and just hopefully make it to the end and see where the chips fall, so to speak.
All right, so you just mentioned I believe we are still in the same build, and we just went to Pocono 6 weeks ago, and this is kind of a curveball I'm throwing you here because we haven't talked about it in advance. But since it is so recently that we went to Pocono and it's the same build, the same set, same weather, is there any possibility that we might adjust the day of the time of the race and maybe run it at a different time, just so that the races maybe run in different conditions?
It's not really something I thought about. I know our general rule of thumb, so to speak, is that we try to keep everything as consistent as possible, as a lot of our drivers use this as a practice or a gearing up, so to speak, for the upcoming NIS races. So it's not something I've necessarily thought of. If anything, I mean, the only other change we necessarily would make would be so that it's more real life, so to speak. That's usually the fallback if we can't emulate what it's like in the NIS, or there's something not comparative, I guess, then we just go as close to real life as possible. In that case, it could be very interesting considering how hot it is on the East Coast the past few days. So unless you guys want 95-degree temperatures going around Pocono, which might get a little interesting, I think we'll probably stick with the normal fixed set NIS type of setup.
All right, and Adam, to cap off the show tonight, talk about Pocono a little bit from your perspective. Is it a place you really kind of like to drive? It is a totally unique track, bumpy, 3 turns instead of 4 or 2, really. The tricky triangle, a lot of different ways you can drive the track. You can shift down in 3, you can shift down in 1, you can drive it to the bottom in 3, you can run the pavement in 3. A lot of different ways to get around that place. What do you think of the tricky triangle?
Yeah, if I remember right, last time we visited Pocono, I was just riding around and Trey Browning just got loose and tried to save it, and I was there and I had nowhere to go. It was just a racing deal. Kind of disappointed, but if I remember right, before that happened, I liked shifting into third into turn 1. Turn 2 was the tunnel turn. I actually enjoyed that. For some reason, I could gain a lot of ground on a lot of people there. And in turn 3, I enjoy running the patch. Other than that, I do enjoy Pocono. It's definitely a fun track to race on. Lots of character, I, as Brendan Gaughan would say, referencing those bumps. And I hope they never repave the track in iRacing. It's a really fun track, but I look for a pretty fun race this upcoming Monday.
Absolutely. It's not quite dirt confirmed, but it's a fun little racetrack to drive, and until we get dirt, sliding through turn 2 and the tunnel turn is maybe the next best thing we've got on the service. So thanks to our guest, Adam DeBlasio, for joining us tonight. Thanks to Jacob Fyfe, as always, for hosting the league and hosting our radio show here tonight as the executive producer. As Adam gives you one last 24 as we go away from you tonight. But thanks for joining us. Next week we'll be here again at 8 o'clock again. We'll recap Pocono and look forward to, I believe it's Michigan, the week after Pocono. So thanks for everybody for joining us tonight, and have a good night.